Look around you. The rush hour traffic, the 60-hour work weeks, the mountain of bills that magically consumes exactly what you earn month after month. You feel it, don't you? That persistent, itching sensation at the back of your mind that something isn't right. We are told that if you work hard, save your money, and follow the rules, you will get ahead. That is the American promise. But for 90% of the population, that promise has warped into a perpetual treadmill. You run faster just to stay in the same place. We tend to look at the economy as a force of nature, a complex weather system that just happens. Sometimes it rains, sometimes it shines. But what if the economy isn't the weather? What if it's a machine? And what if that machine has an architect? The reality is, the modern financial world wasn't designed for your prosperity. It was designed for your extraction. We are living in the updated, digitized version of a system constructed over a century ago by men who realized that true wealth wasn't about making things, it was about controlling the people who do. Today, we are going to deconstruct the invisible cage. We will trace the lineage of control from the oil monopolies of the 1800s to the debt-based servitude of the 2020s. We will show you how industrial feudalism didn't die, it just got a rebrand. To understand the modern trap, we have to go back to the Gilded Age, a time when the United States was transforming from an agrarian society into an industrial powerhouse. In this chaos, a new breed of predator emerged, the robber barons. Carnegie in steel, Vanderbilt in rail, J.P. Morgan in banking. But none were more calculating, more ruthless, and more visionary than John D. Rockefeller. In the early days of oil, the market was chaos. It was true competition. Thousands of small drillers and refiners trying to undercut each other. Prices fluctuated wildly. Rockefeller looked at this competition, and he didn't see opportunity. He saw inefficiency. He saw waste. He famously said, "Competition is a sin." His goal wasn't to be the best player in the game. His goal was to own the board. He didn't just buy out competitors, he waged economic warfare. He made secret deals with railroads to ship his oil cheaper while charging his rivals double. If a competitor refused to sell, Rockefeller would drop prices in their specific town until they went bankrupt, then buy their assets for pennies on the dollar. By 1890, Standard Oil controlled 90% of the refined oil in the United States. But Rockefeller didn't just create a monopoly on a product, he pioneered a blueprint for societal control. He understood that if you control a foundational resource like energy, you control everything built on top of it. The robber barons realized that democracy was inconvenient for profits, so they bought the politicians. They realized an educated populace might rebel, so they poured money into shaping the education system to produce obedient workers, not critical thinkers. The ultimate expression of this era was the company town. Imagine, you work for the mining company. You live in housing owned by the company. You buy your food at the company store, often at inflated prices. You aren't paid in US dollars. You're paid in company scrip. Money that is only valid within the town. At the end of the month, after paying your rent and food bills back to your employer, you have nothing left. You are technically free, but economically, you are a serf. You can never leave because you can never save enough to escape. Keep the concept of the company town in your mind, because in the 20th century, the elites realized that running a physical town was messy and expensive. They needed a way to scale the company town model to the entire world. They needed a way to make you a serf without ever having to see your face. For a brief period after World War II, it seemed like the system might actually work for the average person. The middle class exploded. A single income could buy a house and support a family. But beneath the surface, the tectonic plates of the economy were shifting. The industrial model, where wealth was generated by making tangible things, was being replaced. August 15th, 1971, a date that changed everything. President Richard Nixon temporarily and then permanently ended the convertibility of the US dollar to gold. Before this moment, money was tied to something physical, something limited. After this moment, money became an abstraction. It became fiat. It could be printed at will by central banks. Look at the charts. For decades, as workers became more productive, their wages rose alongside them. They shared in the prosperity. Then came the shift. After 1971, productivity continued to skyrocket thanks to technology, but wages flatlined. Where did all that extra money go? It went to the top. This was the beginning of financialization. The economy stopped being about the factory floor and started being about the trading floor. Manufacturing was outsourced to cheap labor overseas to maximize corporate profits. Meanwhile, in the US, the financial sector grew like a cancer. In the 1950s, finance was a boring utility like water or electricity. By the 2000s, finance was the economy. The new robber barons weren't building steel mills. They were engineering complex financial derivatives. They were making money from money, contributing nothing of tangible value to society, yet skimming billions off the top. But here was the problem. If you suppress wages for 40 years, how do people keep buying things to keep the economy going? How do you maintain the illusion of the American dream when the reality has eroded? You don't give them higher wages, you give them credit. Remember the company town where you got paid in scrip and immediately gave it back for rent and food? Today, the entire world is the company town, and debt is the company scrip. The genius of the modern system is that it replaced overt control with covert coercion. You aren't forced to work by a whip. You are forced to work by the monthly statement. The trap is set early. We tell 18-year-olds that the only path to a decent life is a university degree. We encourage them to sign loan documents they can't possibly understand for amounts of money that used to buy a house. Before they even enter the workforce, they are in the hole. They are terrified. They can't take risks. They can't start a business. They have to take the first safe corporate job they can find just to service the interest. Then comes the house, the ultimate symbol of success. But a 30-year mortgage isn't ownership. It's a rental agreement with the bank where you carry all the risk of maintenance and market crashes. Then come the cars, the credit cards, the buy now, pay later schemes for shoes and phones. The system is designed to maximize your monthly burn rate. Every advertisement, every social media influencer is programmed to make you feel inadequate unless you are spending. The perfect citizen in this system is someone who earns $5,000 a month and spends $5,000 and $5. They are perpetually dependent, terrified of losing their job for even a week, and completely docile. Debt is the most efficient mechanism ever invented for transferring wealth from the poor to the rich. It is a tax on the future labor of the working class, paid directly to the asset-owning class. Rockefeller had to hire guards to keep his workers in line. Today's elites just have to adjust the interest rate. But wait, you might say, we don't have monopolies like Standard Oil anymore. We have choices. I can choose between Coke and Pepsi, Apple and Android, Exxon and Chevron. This is the greatest magic trick of the modern era, the illusion of choice. While it looks, on the surface, like a vibrant, competitive market, the reality is an extreme concentration of ownership that would make Rockefeller blush. But the real consolidation isn't just in the companies that make the products, it's in who owns those companies. Meet the new masters of the universe, the big three asset managers: BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. If you look at the shareholders of almost any major publicly traded company in America, from Apple to Exxon to Pfizer to the banks themselves, you will almost always find BlackRock and Vanguard as the top two owners. They own the companies that make your car, the company that supplies the gas for the car, the media company that advertises the car, and the bank that gives you the loan for the car. When the same institutions own significant stakes in all major competitors in an industry, do you really think those companies are brutally competing against each other to give you the lowest price? This is passive monopoly. They don't need to crush competition in the open like Rockefeller did. They just quietly bought the whole casino while everyone was distracted by the slot machines. And now, they are coming for the last remnant of American independence, your home. Wall Street firms are buying up single-family houses by the thousands, outbidding regular families with cash offers, turning homeowners into permanent renters. The goal is clear. You will own nothing, and you will be happy. The ultimate realization of the company town.
The system isn't failing. It is doing exactly what it was designed to do. From Rockefeller's brutal consolidation of resources to the central bank's debasement of currency to the financial sector's ensnarement of the population through debt, it is a continuous lineage of control. They built a world where your value is determined not by what you create, but what you owe. A world where the price of admission is your freedom. It is easy to feel paralyzed by the scale of this machinery, to feel like a helpless cog. But the first step in escaping a prison is realizing that you are in one. The cage is invisible as long as you refuse to look at the bars. You cannot win their game by playing by their rules. You cannot borrow your way to freedom. Understand history. Understand money. Reject the programming that tells you your worth is your consumption. The system was built by people, and what was built by people can be deconstructed by people, but only if we wake up first.